Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Blue Corner on New Year's Eve, despite the fact that I'm actually recording this video on the 23rd. Ha ha, planning. Anyway, with the year set to come to a close and the new format beginning right away, I figure why not do one last deck profile under the current September 2013 ban list while I still can, and I figure what better way than to do a profile on Tempest Dragunity, because let's be honest, this deck is just not going to be the same again after the new list kicks in and Dragunity is wrongfully banned. Yes, I still hate the hit. I'm going to continue to hate the hit. So sue me. Anyway, so this is the Dragunity deck I was using in that One Last Stand video with the awesome Phoenix Wright music and all that. And I'm just going to give you guys a profile of it, talk about some card choices. There won't be too much of that though, as it's just extremely standardish. Like, I think the Dragunity deck itself has kind of just more or less been perfected. There's an accepted template that we all tend to run with, making additions and subtractions here and there, and yeah. So if you've seen one Dragunity deck list, unfortunately you've followed me, gotten a fair idea of what this is too. But it's okay. Dragunity is still fun to talk about, and to be perfectly honest, if this format's definitely done one thing about this deck, it's made people know what Dragunity can really do. Up until recently, people have been like, oh, Dragunity, the deck that always puts out just Stardust, make Stardust, Stardust.deck. And then what happened? People started finding out about all the wonderful things you can do with Mistletoe, Tomb, and whatnot, and with Dragon Rollers too. So, yeah, Dragunity have truly managed to make themselves formidable. It's just a pity it took this long for it to happen, and after their one format of being truly really good. Yup. Anyway, so my deck list consists of the standard Dragunity lineup, triple Ducks, triple Phalanx, double Mistletoe, and I'm running the singletons of Legionnaire and Acklys for popping stuff. Blowing up monsters, blowing up back row, following up into a Mistletoe. I hear that's pretty good stuff. If the format would allow it, I would run a second Legionnaire, but that's not really an option right now. Then for the other guys, 2 copies of Tempest, now secret rare. One of my goals for this deck will at some point to replace these guys with their dual terminal cards. Try and max out this Dragunity deck. That's one of my goals. And well, it starts with a secret rare upgrade to Tempest, although he will be a 1, but you still. A blinged out Dragunity deck is something I've always wanted in, so I wanted these Tempests more than anything else, and I finally got them. It's nice. But Tempest does what Tempest does. Same for Red Med. You never really want to have him in your hand, but he's not completely unplayable from there. And our 2 additional wing beasts, Zephyros and Garuda. As for the spells, 3 copies of the soon-to-be banned Dragunity. You know, the one thing I will say is I'm disappointed this was never followed up. I mean, come on. Ravine has been good for so long. Halo was used to win worlds, and they couldn't bother to put this into an Astral Pack. Like, come on. You go to the trouble of giving us a foil falling down that nobody gives a damn about, but you can't make Dragunity a super rare, or hell, an ultimate rare? You know what? I'm not going to say if. I'm pretty certain that Konami's going to be like, lol, we're going to put Dragunity as a foil in Dragons of Legend. Although hopefully it'll be unbanned by the time that comes out. I really hope that Ravine itself is going to be legal for Nats, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be legal for Worlds, and I'm going to laugh my ass off if Dragunity ends up winning Worlds, or topping Worlds, because they have access to the all-powerful Dragunity in Japan. Speaking of Ravine, we get our 3 copies of Terraforming, and despite the fact that I'm running 6 copies of Dragunity, there are still those games where I don't see either. And those are the ones that are just completely unbearable, because then you're just sitting on tuners and well, if you had a tuner and Mistletoe, it wouldn't be so bad. You're sitting on shit like Phalanxes and Ducks and Spells and Traps. You need that one card to start your engine, and even at 6 copies, you still can't get to it. I've lost games because I just could not draw a Ravine or a Terraforming, despite using Upstarts and Cards of Constants for at least 10 turns. It's awful. Speaking of draw power, 3 copies of Upstart Hoban. I've grown to like this card. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was really skeptical of it at the beginning, but I've kind of come around, and I could see myself throwing this into a couple more decks, maybe my Constellars. I would just have to find room for it, but Upstart does the same thing here as it does in Dragunity Rulers and other decks. It helps you get to your combo pieces, especially with the amount of deck thinning that you could potentially do. And the last piece of draw power, cards of consonants. And my other cards consist of 2 Forbidden Lance in order to get around Wing Blast, Chain, and maybe Fate. I wish Fate targeted, but ugh. Oh well, at least I can keep my monsters safe, even if it comes at the cost of losing something else. Anyway, and 2 copies of Mystical Spice Typhoon for the duos, there we go. And as for the singletons, Book, Foolish, and Gold Sark. Yes, I know, the Foolish Burial's a secret rare, but you know how much the Super Bird costs? Over 40 bucks! This is under 10. Yeah, exactly. As for the traps, 2 copies of Fiendish Chain, 2 copies of Vanity's Emptiness. I know I said this card isn't that great in Dragon Rulers, but Dragunity I feel can run the card better, and to be perfectly honest, how many people in Dev Pro just died to this thing? Yeah, exactly. And then the remaining one-os, Bottomless Compulse and Solemn Warning. Wow, I'm getting my cards mixed up. Anyway, now for the extra deck. It's, I think, almost exactly the same as last time I did a Dragunity deck profile. It's just I might have changed 1 card, and we'll see what that is. First up, for the Xyz, Thunder Charger, Ptolemy, Atum, Bouncer, and Zero Fine. Not much else to say on them. I am happy that Ptolemy is going up from 1 in the new format. I just have to go and get another one. I realized I only got the 1 Ptolemy. Not good, considering I'm playing Constellars. For the 8s, Thought Ruler, Stardust, Stardust Spark, Scrap Dragon, Crimson Blader, and Colossal Fighter. And for the remaining 6s, well, should be obvious, the 3 soon-to-be reprinted Vajrayana and the 1 Gator that could probably use a reprint now more than ever, as I see him being the focal point of any upcoming Dragunity builds for the new list, as you want to just get into Gator, sit on Gator, and start searching stuff from your deck to your hand. But that is it for the deck itself. And as far as Dragunity go in the new format, I have an idea of what I could do, but it's, as I said before, it's just not going to be the same. It's unfortunate, but that's just how I see it. Maybe 1 or 2 Dragunity decks without Ravine will top a regional, but it's not going to be near as frequent as before. I liken Dragunity and Dragunity just a similar point of Elemental Hero Stratos and Heroes, where once they banned Stratos, Heroes never really were the same. You still saw them every now and then, but nowhere near as consistently. And I'm just going to shove these a bit further down and get all my wonderful Dragunity related stuff onto here. But hopefully, though, as I said before, Ravine will be unbanned at some point. I'm hoping it's not going to end up like Wind-Up Carriers and Mighty, where it ends up being on the ban list way longer than it needs to be. I'm willing to admit now that Zen Mighty could probably come back now. And if that thing can come back, then Ravine can certainly come back, seeing how it's not the most busted field spell in the game. Not when there's stuff like Fusion Gate, which is part of an FTK OTK burn deck. Well, not an FTK, but it's an OTK burn deck. You got Divine Wind of Mist Valley, which can also do some really stupid stuff, and yet Dragunity is the one that ends up getting banned. Huh. But enough complaining about me. Let's think positive. Let's think about the next format. To be perfectly honest, in the next format, I don't know what I'm going to be doing, because I'm probably not going to be taking it as seriously. It's the one before the Nats format, and in that format, we'll be getting Legacy of the Valiant, not Legacy, Primal Origin, and more importantly, Scrap Factory and Diamond Core Kwakimeru. That shit I'm excited for. Legacy of the Valiant? Not really. If anything, I'm not looking forward to that set, because that means people are going to be playing Gravekeepers again, and Necro Valley. But what are you guys going to be doing next format? Are you going to just screw around a little bit? Or are you going to try and be super serious and competitive and try and kick ass and take names and all that shit? As for what I'm going to play next format, I don't know. Constellars are very likely a good starting point, as I still have most of the deck, and I got another chain key, so that's a start. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, this is BlueStar899 jacking out, and Happy New Year!